Hey everyone. So I was watching Gavel Geeks live last night, and it was a wonderful live, very fact filled. If you haven't watched it, please go do that. But there was some questions towards the end, and it's hard to remember what was said 2.5 years ago, and things kind of get twisted or misconstrued, or even just, the memory doesn't always serve us right. And so there was a few things after watching it that I really thought I need to go back and find, the answers to what was said at that time. So I put together this real short video, basically of what Equusearch's thoughts were, and some of the comments that they had regarding Summer's last known place to be alive, whether or not she made it home, the dog track, or the scent, where the scent stopped, and some of those things. So again, if you haven't watched Gavel Geeks Live from last night, please go do so. And I hope this refreshes your memory. If you're new to the case, then these are the facts as we know them, based on Equusearch's findings when they went to Tennessee twice to search for Summer Wells. I also want to give a huge thank you to Duty Ron for all of the interviews he did with Equusearch, and of course to Equusearch for their hard efforts everywhere in trying to locate missing people.
Dave, I want to ask you, to me, a very pertinent question, and you sort of touched upon it almost unintentionally. You said that if she had walked out and actually walked down the road, that the dogs probably would have found her. So I'm just going to ask you, do you think that the story told by Candace is plausible?
No.
I think, something I really like that, you're not an investigator, but based on you're coming from a different discipline, and that is deductive reasoning at its best.
Yeah. And David, did you say 100% no?
I don't think that it's plausible that she wandered off and nobody could not with the amount of individuals that we had covering that mountain, and especially after day 4 when I got there, and the amount of people that surrounded that. It's almost like it just was a noose and it was just tightening up. There's no way she could have got out of that first circle without being spotted, and especially when you got a helo with FLIR on it. Now all of a sudden you have to also remember, guys, that this little girl after day 4 has not had any water, has not had any nourishment. She's in dire straits at this point in time, so her movements are going to be slow, if not non-existent. So she's not even going to be a moving target at that point in time. And for 1,000 people to sit there and literally not find this girl within the confines of that circle, I ain't buying it, or whatever, and she's still walking amongst us, that would be the best case scenario. And the reason that I say things like that is because you have to look at J.C. Dugard after 29 years. You have to look at Elizabeth Smart after, 9 months. Anything's possible. We know where the hell this little girl isn't. I mean, we covered enough ground. We know where the hell she's not. Now we just have to keep expanding this circle until it just doesn't make any more sense. If that makes any sense. No, there's 1 or 2 people know exactly what happened that day and what they did with her.
And someone just asked on the chat, and I think you said it before, that the dogs lost the scent at the end of the driveway. Isn't that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. That answers that question.
So again, you can take that 2 ways. Is it when she originally left to go to the swimming hole? Is that why that dog? Here's my thing: is did she ever make it back home?
So I said the same thing.
So we know for a fact that she was alive somewhere between 2 and 2:30, according to the friend, because that's what time that this 15-year-old was dropped off. So we're going off of that she was at 2:30. She was still seen, and she was physically seen. So if there was nothing between that 2:30 mark and that 6:40 mark, did she even make it back home? To say that that she walked away, or did something catastrophic happen after they dropped off this 15-year-old on the way to the house? So those are the kind of things that I'm looking at.
I said the same exact thing. I said I had doubts that she ever made it back to the house.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe between point A and point B. I mean, what's your guys' feeling, Bill and Ron? I mean, you guys have done the investigation into this side. Am I wrong on thinking some of the things that I'm thinking?
I think you're 100% correct. And one of my biggest questions was, what was the result of the interview of the 3 boys, of the brothers? Because they allegedly saw her walk down the stairs. So we
But
don't know that.
were they coerced?
Yes, well, that too. I would imagine, coming from where they're coming from, they're probably terrified of their parents.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the background of what they have. You know, that's, you know, they put on this persona on, and again, I'm not saying that they're guilty or not guilty, but you have to call it the way you see it.
A good question came in from the interview room. Chris McDonough is a retired homicide detective from California, down by in San Diego. He says, what were the parents doing while the search was going on, if you know? That's for you, Dave.
You know, to be honest with you, I really don't know what they were doing. But what struck me funny is that the following Monday after, for one, when I did see them, there was no emotions. That's number one. Number two is that the father went back to work on Monday. Now, who in the hell goes back to work when your 5-year-old daughter's missing?
I got crucified for saying that because I said it too. I said,
Crucify me away, but I want somebody to sit there and tell me, if you have a 5-year-old kid and it's missing, could you physically go back to work?
No, I'd be with a bullhorn standing on top of the tallest structure, whether it's a mountaintop or up in a tree somewhere, calling a name out. And I would be handing flyers out. But that's me, and that's you, that's Bill. No two act the same. But at the same time, when you have a 5-year-old, your flesh and blood that's not accounted for, I can't see, he made a statement on the media, oh, well, we got to get back to normal. We got to, to get our minds off of it. No, you're breathing, living, and every waking moment should be focused on this girl.
Finding your daughter, period.
When we went down to convene at the water hole, I wanted this entire team to come down to see that water hole of where little Summer went, possibly one of the last places that she was seen at. So I wanted everybody to see what was around it. We weren't there to search that area. There was no need to search that area, to be honest with you. But I wanted them to see it. And then as we were working backwards and thinking in our process, what was on the way out of there? So that's kind of where we were. So when we come rolling up, Candace was actually there doing an interview with another individual. And, we stayed back. We didn't want to get in their way. What I thought was kind of strange is that, here we have 15 of us standing there and kind of in a group, not staring at what they're doing, but kind of getting our game plan together. You would think that somebody would have come up, somebody, mainly Kansas, would have came up to us and thanked us for coming and looking for her daughter. I find it kind of strange that she never made no attempt to reach out to us to do anything. And I'm not saying that that's a good thing, a bad thing, an indifferent thing. I'm not passing judgment on anybody. I just felt that it was kind of strange in all the years that I've been doing this and all the cases that I've done. Every single parent or loved one has come up to us and embraced us and said thank you in some sort of fashion. So I thought it was kind of strange that she never did reach out and come over to us and thank us all. We would have absolutely gave that woman that group hug that Bill is so desiring.
And I was just taking TikTok video and he come up out of there somewhere and I was like just splashed around and then he threw up gang signs.
Do you know them?
No, I have no idea who that is.
Okay.
And then he started throwing up gang signs and I'm like, so I moved it back away from him as quick as I could.
We go off of the point last scene. In the point last scene in Summer's case, it wasn't the house. We don't know if she made it back to the house. So the physical place that she was last seen in was actually Hunter's house. Right. So if you want to be, go from the point of last scene, that's where you should be starting your search because we don't know if that girl actually made it back to the house in order for her to walk away from.
Dave, there's a lot of things that are unknown here. And even someone else on another podcast admitted that they don't know what the three boys ever actually saw or come back to the house. And no one knows that answer except law enforcement.
Right.
Correct.
Here's
so
what
I was trying to say, Farley, is what's your opinion on the percentage as far as it being a stranger abduction?
Absolutely not. That's my opinion, but no.
Can you
I wouldn't think so.
Twyla, I'm so glad you got off the fence because you were sitting on that fence. I was going to
because I'm not trying to get.
I let her. She could be recovered alive. Which there is always a possibility, but in this case, we all know the facts, and as you said early on, it doesn't make sense.
No. I think that there's one or two people know exactly what happened that day and what they did with her, and I hope to God that again that they would
come forward if they come forward and tell the truth. Yeah.
And there's the 1-800
investigation. Is that I always talk about investigation direction, right? And investigative direction isn't decided by one person. It's decided by a whole plethora of detectives and bosses sitting around and discussing the case. And to me, what makes most sense in this case is the people around, Candace and Don and all the people around them. That's what makes sense to me. And when people start throwing in horse shit like serial killers and, some serial killer just came on the property from another, it throws unnecessary shit into the mix and it confuses everybody, because you have to look at this stuff logically and what it could be and use, reasonable deductive brain things, not coming up with outrageous theories and then throwing it out there, which just confuses the shit out of everybody. And it actually annoys me. It annoys me.
I don't even have the words for it, and I know about these children cases, and in all cases touch our hearts. But and I'm gonna say this about Summer. Summer is not in a place she chose to be, and she didn't have a say so where she's at right now. There and people, believe it or not, there are very, very few missing children cases that are taken by strangers. Are there some out there? Yes, but you know what? Everyone I've ever worked, family was involved. Everyone I've ever worked.
That's telling. That is telling, folks.
Right. You might as well just rip my chest out, throw it out there for the fish to eat, because it's worthless without her. I try to be strong for my boys. I try to have hope. I feel like everybody is against me.
It's all right. You wanna rest for a minute? You want to take a break for a second?
Yes.
Yeah. Take your time. Nobody else is here. They're all gone. Everybody left.